This is Your Own Best Company, a podcast for people who love to work alone. Hello, everybody. I am Franklin Taggart, and this is Your Own Best Company, a podcast for people who love working alone. And I'm really excited about my guest this morning. I met Roberta Ravella in one of Kat Stanczyk's podcasting mixers a few months ago, and we exchanged Facebook contact information. I've been following her on Facebook ever since then, and I really enjoy the things that she posts there about marketing and her approach to marketing, and I'm excited to share some of that with you. Roberta has been, she had a long career in real estate, and in the past few years, she has transitioned into the role of marketing coaching. And she is really good at what she does. And I think she's going to have a lot to share with us this morning. So welcome, Roberta.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Franklin, and great to be with your listeners.
Yeah, I'm delighted, and I'm sure that they will be too. Can you tell me a little bit about how long were you in real estate?
I was in mortgage, but it's,
Okay.
it's connected to, right?
Yeah.
20 years.
Okay, so it was a decently long career
Yeah.
then.
I did operations, and for those of people who know me, that's hilarious. I did ops for a few years, and then the owner of my company was like, "You really should be in sales." So
Yeah.
originated my first loan in 1999 and my last loan in 2019.
Wow. Okay, so that's a good long time.
Yeah.
As you were in sales, what were the things that you found intimidating at first?
I was pretty young when I started, so it was intimidating to look at someone 10, 20 years older than me sitting across the desk. That's back when you came in, right, to the mortgage
Yeah.
company and sat down and we took out the old pen, and tell them, they were going to have to work on qualifying, or this is your rate, and they were happy. Or I did subprime loans back when that meant you didn't qualify for a normal loan,
Yeah.
not the stated income craziness. I did that too, but that was intimidating for me, looking at what I thought were adults and seeing that they had problems that I had. Like, y'all
Yeah.
can't pay your credit cards either. I was right out of college. So initially that had a lot to do with it, just feeling like, I'm 25 and these people are 45 and 55 that
Yeah.
I'm selling to. So that was intimidating.
And then did it take you a little while to kind of get into the groove with selling and feel more confident in it?
Gosh, if I'm face to face and in live selling, I'm good.
Yeah.
It was when I had to do things to really bring confidence to someone else, or they were really questioning me. Yes, that took me a while. It took me a while to be confident in being questioned.
Oh, yeah. So if those questions came up, what was your reaction?
A lot of times I would stammer around it, like, oh gosh, they're asking me this. I hope I answer this to where I'm not unselling. When in
Yeah.
fact, if you answer the question truthfully and you unsell, then it's okay. It took me a long time to learn that, get to the truth, not to the sale.
You did that for 20 years. And
Yes.
then at some point in the last few years, you said, I need a new direction. And were you kind of aware of that well before you made the decision, or was it something that you just said, I'm just going to try something new here and see how it flies? How did that unfold for you?
I was definitely aware of it. As I got more into my own skin and more comfortable with myself and who I am as a person and my values,
Yeah.
the style of selling that I had grown up in and was often presented in that industry is not in my values, and it's not in my strengths. So I first started coaching to learn different ways of selling, which is where I came across 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry
Yeah.
Marshall. It was one of the books that we were supposed to read, which says, of course, 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. So find the 20% and let all the rest of it go. What's the
Yeah.
point? Right. Um, but in that book, he talks quite a bit about, how to stop cold calling, how to stop doing things that you hate doing. And I was raised in, it doesn't matter if you hate doing it, look at your check.
Pick
You
up the
just made
phone.
more than most people pay in taxes. You get to hate everything and we don't give a shit, right? Like,
Yeah, that's right.
right. So just that started my journey. And the more I got into it, and then we moved. I had been in Northern Virginia for the majority of my mortgage career,
Yeah.
all of my sales career. And I met my husband, got married, and moved to Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where in Texas were you?
Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started over and I'm like, okay, this is a good place for me to start over and start in this other kind of sales, right? Finding people who jive with me, working my strengths and my values. And it's hard
Yeah.
because the pressure is opposite. The pressure is to give, give, give. What have you
Yeah.
got for me? And I know there's a lot of people out there that say you have to continue to give value, but there's a balance between giving value and dancing for dinner.
Yeah, that's a fact. In the musicians world, we call it dying from exposure.
Right. 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 If I could just get, like Madonna, I think was topless again the other day. I'm like, still doing that, are you?
Yeah, hello.
Okay. All righty. But there's a balance there. So as I got deeper into it and got more into learning marketing as a precursor to sales,
Yeah.
like your marketing should be out on the street working for you. So by the time you get to the sale, you're pretty close to your right person.
As you started to develop this coaching practice and business, what were the big surprises that you found when you started your business?
The big surprise, one of the big surprises for me was I was in commission sales, right? Nobody handed me any business. So I'm out there, feeling like I'm self-employed.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between being by yourself behind a desk where nobody cares if you make money except for your creditors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am I'm an external processor. I'm an
Yeah.
extrovert. I need to be around people. I'm a collaborative person, and I had no idea how much I relied on that from my office and just from the general, you know, the way things go in any sort of office setting, right? Even
Yeah.
if you're working, I mean, I didn't have to go to the office, but even so, I'm still talking to people all day, and they care whether I'm getting my stuff done.
So how have you worked that into your routine then?
Um, I'd love to say I'm a great calendar person, but I'm not. I did. Darren Hardy's got a great program called Insane Productivity,
Yeah.
and my brother talked me into it. He's a production kind of guy. I'm an alchemist for all
Yeah.
you artists out there, right? I'm not a producer, but he talked me into it. And you go along, you set your goals. Like, what do you want? What do you want to do? I only set three. And then each week, what am I doing that's getting me there? And then how will I know?
Yeah.
How will you know you won? I mean, how do you know it's working? So following along those lines, it's become a lot looser than it was when I first started doing it. But it also helped me stop doing things I didn't want to do or that I felt like I should do, but
Yeah.
weren't getting me anywhere.
What are some of those things that you felt like you should do?
Networking.
Yeah.
Now, networking works really great for some people. I
Yeah.
mean, oh my gosh, I know people who build their whole business doing nothing but networking. But just for where I am and for the time and space, it wasn't the right thing.
Yeah. So how did you adapt then to replace networking?
Well, fortunately for me, COVID hit
Yeah.
because that forced everybody online.
Yeah.
And online networking does work.
I found the same to be true. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I find that online networkers tend to be, if they're really showing up, right? I think we've all been in a group where half the people have their camera off,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay. But if you're in an online group where they're really showing up, they want to be there.
In the last couple of years, then, I mean, that your business started and then COVID hit. So it's
Mhm.
like you've been doing your business basically under circumstances that, you know, are hopefully not normal.
Yeah, really.
And I'm curious as to, I mean, what were the things that you had to kind of, change really quickly in order to adapt to that?
Well, I had planned out with my coach at the time. We had planned all these speaking things.
Yeah.
That was going to be how I was going to build my list. So that went down the tubes.
Yeah.
I know initially, remember, they just shut everything down. Nothing even went virtual.
That's right.
And at that point, I was not wanting to market back into my industry. I was trying to do small business
Yeah.
and do business coaching in general, which, by the way, he was very opposed to, but I was not listening. So there's that. So that was part of me saying, okay, I can't do the speaking like I wanted to. How am I going to find an inroad? And my best inroad was to go where I know how they speak the language, what their pain points are, what frustrates them. Some people will say, enter into the conversation in your customer's mind. What conversation are they having with themselves about what it is you offer?
Yeah.
What are they worried about, scared about, stressed about, or what are they aspirational about?
Very good.
Darren Hardy would say he always says, get into bed with them. So you can imagine, when you lay down at night, right, and you pull the
Yeah.
covers up and you're trying to go to sleep, what's racking you? What's in your head? That's good or bad. Some people only say bad, but it can be good too. What if Franklin, you're thinking, I think my podcast could really take off and I'm so excited about this and I'm just not quite sure to do it. And then 2 days later I say, hey, do you think your podcast could really take off and you're really excited about it, but you just don't know how to do it?
There's the language, right? It
You're gonna
connects.
you're gonna be like, me,
Yeah.
me, where do I click?
Why are you in my head, lady?
Yes. As opposed to the convincing game, right? That a lot
Yeah.
of people play. And the convincing game kind of sucks.
Well, yeah, it's that's no fun for anyone on either side of the equation, right?
Right.
I know that a lot of realtors, when they go through their training, that they're given kind of a standard for marketing and selling that's been around for quite a while,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a good fit for everybody. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about how yours is different.
So, what we focus on there is relationships and referrals.
Yeah.
The majority of my agents, I will say all of them, they're either recovering from having bought leads
Yeah.
or they don't want to buy leads and they want to grow their business. So how do they get more referrals? How do they develop more relationships?
Yeah.
Often, when they do come out of real estate school, right, it's like go to your circle of influence.
Yeah.
That's where they're told to go. Well, your cousin doesn't always want to buy a house from you. So
Your cousin
what do
also
you
might not be the greatest influence.
right? Exactly. You might not want to buy a house with your cousin. So what do you do, right? I deal with people who've been in business quite a bit longer. My program works best for people who do have a database, whether they've worked it or not, they at least have it
Yeah.
because your previous customers are always your best customers. There's a thing in direct marketing called RFM,
Yeah.
recent frequent money. I don't know if you're familiar with that or
I
not.
am.
Yeah. But the most recent customer is always the best customer, which when I first heard that, I'm like, nobody's going to get another mortgage from me. They just got one. Right. But they're the first person who's going to refer you.
Absolutely.
It's like a musician who just played a gig, right? They don't have another birthday for another year or another wedding for hopefully not a while. Right.
Yeah.
But they're the most likely person to refer you because they just experienced you
Yeah.
and your service. And that's a great way to start building relationships from someone who already trusts you, and then building relationships out from there. So if Franklin, if you used my service and you were like, oh my God, Roberta changed my marketing, I should be asking you, hey, who else do you know? Or can you post this for me? Or hey, can you send me a review? Or
Yeah.
Franklin, join my community.
Yeah.
Because if you're in my community, you're going to gab for me. I mean, nobody likes to hear how great you are from you.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's all the part about building the relationship, right? Where it starts to drive itself. And you don't feel like you're going out to somebody who you sold a house to 10 years ago and saying, hey, you want to buy another house, or you want another loan, or you're ready to sell your house. You're
Yeah.
going back to somebody who you have a relationship with. It's easy to call, text, email, tag on Facebook.
The way that I'm imagining it is that a lot of times marketing works from our outer circles to our inner circles, where we're going out and trying to find new customers and shaking the trees to find leads and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what you're talking about is actually starting from the inside and going outward from there. And I really love the way that that feels, because I'm already connected with these people in a very meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the ones that are most likely to advocate for me in my business. So I really love that concept. You also talk quite a bit about how you help people really leverage their strengths and their values as they're doing their marketing and selling, and kind of pushing away the ideas that the gurus give them of this is how you have to show up. Can you talk a little bit about how do you present that to people?
Well, most business owners who have done any sort of marketing have done at least one thing that they absolutely freaking hated. Right?
Hello, cold calling.
Hello, cold calling. And for some people, it's getting on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like doing a live interview. For some people, that is like, oh, I'd rather cold call 300 people. I met a few people out there, not a lot, but a few that can cold call all day.
Oh my
They,
gosh.
they don't care. They're like, give me the phone. So do
Okay.
it, right? It's like anything in life. If it's got to be, uh, consistency is required. Sustainability is a must.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I compare it to losing weight. You can cut your arms off and lose 10 pounds, but only twice.
Yeah.
So,
But you can't feed yourself, so it's like
no, well,
bonus.
that could also work in your favor, right? But you've got to find something that you like to do. Now, I'm not talking about people who are the princess and the pea and say, I'm going to sit on my couch, and if you love me, you're going to come here and buy my service from me. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
You have to do something, right? And a lot of times it's going to require an acquiring of skill
Yeah.
of some sort. Okay. But if you know how you like to show up, like I just said to you earlier, I'm an external processor, an extrovert. I can talk all day long, no issue.
Yeah.
My husband was in sales. You're going to love this. As a chemical engineer,
Oh wow.
you're in a room full of introverts
Yeah.
who
My
brought their
people.
HP calculator with them, right? So he needed to show up how he shows up, which
Yeah.
also translates to them. Because if I'm standing in front of them, they're like, oh God, when is she going to shut up?
Yeah.
So that connection to who you need to connect with, which is not to say I don't also connect with introverts and he also connect with extroverts. Obviously, we marry each other.
Yeah.
But that's where we go from strengths to values, where we value the same thing.
Yeah.
We value having fun. We value integrity. We value independence. Neither of us are the kind of people to stay right around our family to have we're just nothing wrong with it. Some people will always be with the, huge family around them and want all that collaboration. We're not big faith people,
Yeah.
we just aren't. So when you look at someone else's values, and I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, Franklin, where you knew you had everything that person needed. They said they wanted it and said here's the check, and you hit heads the entire time.
Oh yeah.
It's usually because you're not value aligned.
So I'm curious then, are the customers that come forward that are the most enjoyable for you to work with, are they the ones that value fun, integrity, and independence?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And purpose seems to be a theme for me lately.
Yeah. And how does
I'm,
that
I'm
show up?
seeing it. People who, let me give you an example. I have one client that's doing great in her purpose. She came from another country to the US. And the first time she went to buy a house, she figured out she knew nothing about the system.
Yeah.
And she used all of her cultural knowledge from her previous country. And she didn't make a disaster out of her credit like a lot of people do because they don't know any better. But she done all this stuff that was just dumb
Yeah.
because she didn't know. And then they ended up paying some taxes and things because she didn't know.
Yeah.
And her purpose is that people like her don't make the same mistake. It also is part of her purpose, larger purpose outside of just real estate, to help moms in the school systems, in church, in cultural experiences, to where not that they don't make mistakes
Yeah.
culturally, but so they can understand what's going on, so they can get what they need,
Yeah.
a better experience and get what they need. So that's a very purpose oriented drive for her in real estate.
Very good. Are you starting to see then that might there be possibilities in that direction that aren't specific to real estate?
I think so. I think I need more time where I'm at.
Yeah.
But definitely, I have people raising their hands and saying, well, that applies to me too.
Yeah.
So we'll,
Well,
we'll see how it branches out.
yeah, you're on the cusp.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people in the same situation,
Oh
right?
yeah, right now there are.
Yeah.
Certainly. A lot of soul searching going on.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. You had mentioned that your strategy pre-COVID was to get out there and do some public speaking, and is that something that you're going to fire up again now that we're kind of getting back to some kind of normal?
I'm kind of seeing how it takes shape because I was invited to speak on a webinar that I was very surprised. I was invited by Perry Marshall. I was like, okay.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so I did a webinar with him. I did a live with Ted Pramaduro, who's a LinkedIn
Hmm.
guy, big LinkedIn guy. And I'm like, you know what? This could be the way that my speaking takes shape, at least for now. So getting on other people's podcasts besides just mine and Daphne's.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, that's been a lot of fun. And there's the possibility I took a workshop myself on doing events,
Oh yeah.
profitable events. If anybody out there's looking to do events, look at Tony Harris Taylor out of Houston. She's the person on that. Um, but it just didn't feel right at the moment. Like I like it. I like the whole idea behind it, but it's not the right time.
Yeah. So instead of that, then you're looking for podcast opportunities. So any of you folks out there who may be hosting a podcast, particularly if it's real estate oriented or if it's marketing oriented, or if it's purpose oriented, Roberta is your huckleberry. She's the one that you need to get on your show right now. But let's talk about the podcast that you and Daphne have.
Yes. It's called Grown Women Growing Wealth. And she had done a couple podcasts. I'm like, Daphne, that's just weird. Who does podcasts? Apparently, people who make a lot of money. I won't mention any names. So she and I had gone to a conference together, and I was like, why don't we do a podcast together? Like, I would do it, but like I said earlier, I like doing stuff with other people. So it's like, hey,
Yeah.
Dad. She's also super technical, and I am not. So that was our little yin and yang. And we ended up modeling it after ourselves. Both of
Yeah.
us left corporate. I left. She was laid off. And then was sick for a little while. So it was hard for her to get back in.
Yeah.
And both of us were like, let's start our own thing. She went through a couple iterations and so did I, like trying to find the right spot. And what we both learned along the way is there's a lot of stuff you just don't know,
Yeah.
right? Like you actually do need to keep track of your expenses.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
They can add up quick.
Yeah, and they're not what you. It's like calories. You don't think you ate that many, but oh yes, you did.
Yeah.
Right. The same thing with the expenses. So we've had marketing people on. We had you on
Yeah.
last week. I think. We've had CPAs. We've had attorneys. We've had people who are mindset oriented. SEO specialist, LinkedIn specialist,
Yeah.
Instagram. We just had a lady who is a trainer in holistic physical coach that works with entrepreneurs and executives when they find that that part of their life is out of whack and causing problems in their business.
Oh, cool.
So she was great. I mean,
Yeah.
you forget your connections, right? If you're not eating well and treating your body well, you're not going to have the energy you need to be fully present in your business. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we've had a lot of fun guests on.
Yeah. It's a fun show, and I'd encourage people to check it out. Grown Women, Growing Wealth is definitely something you need to put on your podcast subscriptions, and make sure you review as well. What about podcasting has been the biggest surprise to you?
I think how many people actually want to come on the show? You know, Daphne and I did something. If you want to start a podcast out there, I highly recommend, and again, I can recommend the people for you, or there's others out there to have at least a course. Take at least a course
Yeah.
because there's little things that will trip you up. And, we did a 6-week course and came out with 6 episodes
Yeah.
and all the tech we needed and our logo and this is going to be our person. Now it's migrated, but at least we had somewhere to start, right? And those guys had told us, it's Tom Brody and Carlos from Hispanic Chamber in Houston. They
Oh,
offer a
cool.
course. And they told us most people will join your podcast if they have the time.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, let's send out the invites. And that's exactly what happened. Now, we didn't ask President Obama or Brene Brown, right?
Yeah.
Brene Brown's coming at some point, I'm sure. But for the most part, the people we knew, even people we thought were a little bit out of our reach, were like, absolutely.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a cool feeling. So, like, which guest were you the most, like, in awe of?
Um, Megan Macedo, but I'm always in awe of her. If you guys don't know her, especially with your audience, Franklin,
Yeah.
you guys should totally know her. She is a business coach and marketing coach. It's called Be Yourself in Your Business,
Yeah.
but she operates everything out of the artist paradigm.
Oh, I love it already.
Yeah. So, the business people out there who sell widgets and they can sell any widget, and that's cool. They're into the
Okay.
systems and all that in business. And then there are business people out there who are building a body of work. She was on our show, and I'm always in awe of Megan. She's just
Yeah.
really smart, and it's just so refreshing because I'm definitely an artist business type. It's just not linear for me. It's kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
it's the
It's like the ball pit at McDonald's.
yes. Yes. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about you, but if I have to sit and talk numbers all day and goals and projections and
Yeah, I'll glaze over in a heartbeat.
yeah.
Yeah. So, if somebody is like, if you're in bed with somebody and they're going in their mind over and over and over and over again, and then they can't sleep and they get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and they go to Google, what do they put into a Google search that ends up at your website?
Marketing for realtors that works.
Ah, very good.
Getting more referrals without cold calling.
All right.
Um, we're begging or bragging. I mean, the top three, I'll do a shameless admission here, but you guys should totally swipe this if you're looking to put complaint language. I don't know another better way to say that. But okay, so let me just walk you through this and then you can help me put a name to it, Franklin.
Okay.
So when I was trying to design my commercial and what are the big pain points? Like I know what they are, but I also know that these people are offering solutions, right?
Yeah.
There are three big coaching groups in real estate. Some of them have been around for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And they each have a different methodology. One is cold calling.
Yeah.
That's what he does, period. Cold calling. The next one is all SOI, circle of influence, your friends.
Yeah.
And then the last one is all digital. It's paid leads. So for each of those, I went online and saw the negative reviews. This was my marketing coach's idea, actually, because
Yeah.
we went through all this. And he said, go online and see what their negative reviews are. Because for the person who has a positive view of that cold calling, they're not my customer. For the
Right.
person who wants to do paid ads, they're not my customer. I mean, God bless them. They're where they're supposed to be, right? So it's the people who are unhappy with it. So I looked at their complaints, and I crafted my message around, you will get this without getting this. And that was cold calling, begging, bragging, or spending a ton of money on ads.
Wow.
So you're going to get what you want, which is you're going to get referrals, not leads,
Yeah.
referrals from your marketing without doing this.
That is fresh, isn't it?
It worked out well. So I don't know if you want to call it complaint department marketing. What would you call that?
Well, it sounds like to me that there's actually a real strong customer service emphasis there. It's like you're actually meeting people more in a service role than you are in a marketing or sales role, which is just as important. The thing that also strikes me about that is so much of that is not public. That's not something that you see in advertising. That's not something that you see in social media very much. What you see is, you see the things that lead to the back, to the closed door. But a lot of the things that you're talking about are actually things that would happen in an established relationship. And that's where the gold is, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I wanted to avoid was constantly talking about ROI.
Yeah.
And on it, obviously, you want return on investment.
Yeah.
But to me, it's so much more than just money. Now, if you want to talk about the return on investment as far as money, yeah, we can do it. But coming out of a sales environment where I was making myself do stuff constantly,
Yeah.
making myself do stuff, and my values were not the values of the people I was working for. That's not their fault.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better, right? But once I figured that out, and once you value align with your customer and realize everybody is far from your customer,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not trying to go to the cold calling guy and say to all those people who are happy, you're stupid.
Yeah.
Why are you cold calling? That's the worst thing ever. They like it. They like it. It's working for them. It's working for them. I'm looking for the people who are going, I can't do that. What else is out there for me? Those are my peoples,
And there are
right?
a lot of them, right?
Yes, there are. See, I mean, same with the paid ads. There are people out there who are killing it with paid ads.
Yeah.
You know,
Love to know, what do you love about the life that you've created?
well, we live at the beach.
Yeah.
So there's that.
There's that.
Yeah. Um, we that definitely is a biggie. I also have gotten over what time I need to be at work.
Yeah.
And depending on what you call work, I usually start my day, I wake up around 6:30, and by about 7, I'm into my journal, into my reading, and then do some working out, and then hit my planning for what's going on. And then I'm probably available for phone or meeting between 9:30 and 10.
Okay.
And in my former life, that would have been, isn't it nice to work banker's hours?
Yeah, that would have been late, right? Yeah, everybody
Right.
else is shoveling in at about 7, and you're
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And this life, that's the hours I choose. And also I consider the journaling and the exercise and all that stuff as an integral part of my creativity.
Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, has that been something that you've done for a long time, or is that something that you've just adopted recently?
It is something that I strove to do for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I still lived in Northern Virginia when the first person was like, "What does your morning look like?" I'm like, it's great. And then I got up the next day and turned on the angry news
Oh, yeah.
and realized that I spent 2 hours of my morning listening to people scream at each other.
That's no fun for anyone.
I thought I was informed. I'm like, this isn't information. These people are all like calling each other stupid. And that was before 2016.
Oh,
So I
I
don't
know,
even know
right?
what that stuff looks like now.
You don't want to know.
Yeah. So that was my first thing. I was like, okay, I got to stop doing this. So I switched to, I always say it's Matt Lauer flipping pancakes, but
Yeah.
that's no longer in existence, right?
No.
But I started then trying to get my morning under control. And then as it progressed, it was not an easy habit. I started Miracle Morning. Once
Oh,
we
yeah.
moved to Houston, I was like, okay, I have time to do Miracle Morning. So I was doing that. And then just fell out of it and fell back into the roll out of bed and what do I need to do? Like, where's the phone?
Yeah.
What's on my email? Let me look at Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Let me turn on the news. Matt Lauer flipping pancakes and be stressful too. So I think it was around 2016. I was like, I got to be done with this.
Yeah.
So I really hunkered down on it. And then, 2017, 2018, I started coaching with Perry Marshall. And
Yeah.
Perry is adamant about you get out of bed and I don't want to see that phone anywhere near you for at least an hour.
Yeah.
I still struggle with that part a little bit, but I check the tides.
Yeah.
I don't look at my Facebook. In fact, I got all that stuff off my phone for the
Good.
most part. You probably laugh at me. I have to uninstall and reinstall Facebook when I want to do a live, and then I just uninstall it again. But having that control time to journal, to read what I want to read,
Yeah.
when I miss it, my creative juices just dry up.
You can feel it.
And yes,
Yeah.
I mean, you're dipping out of an empty well at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like, got to find some solitude.
That is really cool. And it's neat that you found a routine that works so well for you. And just as a person who follows you on Facebook, I love the beach pictures.
Oh, thanks.
They're really wonderful. That looks
We're
like
having a big seaweed problem right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll clear out in a little
it
while.
will.
So if you were offering yourself advice 20 years ago, what would you say to yourself then?
Be honest. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Saying how I really feel about something and then dealing with the aftermath, right? Like,
Yeah.
well, let's go right back to cold calling or some other marketing that you hate or some job that you don't, these aren't my values, whatever. Okay. So what am I going to do with that information? Am I going to suck it up? It's okay. That would be the second thing I would say to myself. Stop judging yourself. Be honest and stop judging. Like, okay, now you've been honest. What are you going to do with that information? How will you let it serve you?
How do you think your life would have been different had you taken that advice at that age?
I think I would probably have built a much better, much sturdier, and more of a long-term mortgage career.
Okay.
May have even gone out and done it myself as opposed to constantly going to offices and branches and looking for what I wanted in business from somebody else.
That would have been interesting, huh?
Yeah.
But here you are. I'd love to have people be able to get in touch with you. Where would you like them to go first?
So I have a workshop coming up. That's a 90-day strategic marketing workshop. It's 90 minutes, $9. That's at 90dayrealtormarketing.com. You can find me on Facebook, Roberta Ravella. And the Relationship Realtor Marketing Group is also on Facebook.
Very good. Those of you who've been watching this on video have been seeing the website throughout the whole broadcast, but those of you who need the links that are listening on audio, they will be in the podcast description. Roberta, I've enjoyed our conversation very much, and you're a person that that I'm always happy to see at the mixers online.
Thank you.
And
It's
so,
always good to see you too. See your smiling face.
well, I appreciate that as well. And I'm excited to see where you're going to go from here. And I just hope that some of the folks that heard you today will take advantage of following you and learning from you and growing along with you.
Thank you so much, Franklin.
My pleasure. Thanks for listening to Your Own Best Company. If you enjoyed the show, would you do me a favor and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast host? If you really love it, leave me a review or share it with your circles. If you feel like your career is reaching a dead end, or you're feeling a deep sense of dissatisfaction in your work right now, I help people discover their gifts and then find or create new opportunities that are the best fit for their talent, experience, and lifestyle. Email me at coaching@franklintaggart.com for more information. I also help people start, finish, and launch creative projects, and I offer an ongoing marketing mastermind for solopreneurs and freelancers. More information on these programs and services can be found at franklintaggart.com. Thanks again for spending this time with me.